welcome. This is Your Gift Will Make Room for You with Cheryl T. Ricks. And today we have with us Aisha Darby, who's doing great things in the community as she uses her gift, talents, and abilities. So Aisha, introduce yourself and tell us what are you doing to impact the community?
Sure. I'm Aisha Darby. I am the president and CEO of Darby Associates. I'm the lead therapist there. So we're located in Baltimore City. However, we do service clients throughout Maryland just because a lot of our services now are virtual. So just excited about some of the things that we have been doing in the community recently. We just had a healing retreat yesterday. Matter of fact, we took some ladies to a local farm in the Cockeysville area, and we just had a grand time just connecting, fellowshipping, and just teaching alternative strategies. So it's not just always about psychotherapy and talk therapy. So I'm excited to talk about that later on as well. So thank you for having me.
That is so wonderful. When you meet a lady like Miss Aisha here, you don't recognize the blessing that you're ready to receive. I mean, her ability to connect with people and help people to connect with themselves and help them to understand it doesn't matter where you are right now in your life, there's a better place waiting for you, and she can help you get there. And my experience with Aisha was just so awesome. And matter of fact, it was only like 2 sessions. She's like, I don't need to coach. I don't need to be your therapist. We need to have a podcast show together. So Aisha got busy, and then I connected with another brother. Said, you know what? You really should have a podcast show, and I'm going to help you. So that's how Your Gift Will Make Room for You with Cheryl T. Ricks was birthed. And I said I couldn't have this podcast show without letting my sister friend Aisha come and be my guest. And I'm sure when she finally gets her podcast up, I'll be a guest on her show.
Yes.
But share with us some of your gifts and talents that you're using doing what you do.
So I do provide individual and family therapy as well as group. I've been servicing our community for about 20 years. So definitely a variety of experience, or diverse experience, I should say, from medical to public health, to child welfare. So definitely vast experience. Right now, we are providing services to not just our Maryland Medicaid population, but definitely individuals, who are private paying as well. So we provide cognitive behavioral, EMDR, DBT, anything around a psychotherapeutic interventions. We definitely provide that at Darby Associates. We have about 5 therapists on board. And we actually, like, the event was with some colleagues of mine. And so it wasn't just a Darby Associates event yesterday. So we're really excited to expand our services and incorporate more women. I guess our clientele is women of color. And so we're just excited to expand that, not just to our clientele, but definitely increase our reach to all women of color, around this country. You're welcome to come to some of our events, especially some things that we'll have coming up.
That is so awesome. And you have to have the right kind of heart to do the work that God used you to do.
Yes.
I mean, you genuinely have to care about people.
Yes.
You genuinely have a heart to serve, and you genuinely want to make a difference. And that's what you do every day, whether you're in your practice or living your life. If Aisha's in the room, she's going to help, she's going to empower, she's going to support, she's going to help you understand that life is worth living, and whatever challenge you're facing or whatever you're trying to get over or process, help is available. And that is so important, especially because of what's been going on with the pandemic.
Yes.
Everybody's world was turned upside down, not just our individual world, but our country, our world at large. And so how did Darby Associates and what you do in your practice, how did it have a major positive impact on people that was dealing with the pandemic?
So, Darby Associates, I'm sorry, my mission is to meet people where they are, right? And so that's exactly what we did during the pandemic. I was grateful to understand the trajectory of business. So even when I started Darby Associates about 12 years ago, I purchased software for our electronic health record that easily transitioned into a virtual, I guess, mechanism, right? So we were able to use a HIPAA compliant software to connect with our patients. So you didn't necessarily have to come in. So operations didn't change. However, what we found was that I guess the benefit of COVID, it uncovered so many issues people had and they were distracting them with activities. This country is just full of activities and opportunities to distract from your mental health issues, right? We get to go to the gym 24 hours a day. We get to go to happy hour. You know, you can leave out. You don't necessarily deal with your family sometimes. So it's a lot of opportunity to escape, right? And distract. However, with the pandemic, it sort of forced people to look at themselves, look at their circle, their family. And so we saw an influx of patients or clientele. And so we were able to, again, meet them where they are. We have telehealth sessions. I did do some in person when it was appropriate. But overall, it was just an opportunity to, you know, help educate people and an opportunity to help them find awareness, right, on what was going on in their lives and what they were actually distracting themselves from, and just how to move forward to live a more authentic life after the pandemic. And I found that we're still getting more clients coming in, right? Although the world sort of reopened, people want to live a better life now. They want to be more authentic.
You know what? It's funny that you said that because being in mental health recovery for myself for over 30 years, I understand the importance of good mental health. I understand
Mm-hmm.
that it's equally, if not more important, than physical health or emotional
Mm-hmm.
health or spiritual health or
Mm-hmm.
physical health. And it's like nobody really wants to talk about the elephant in the room. Nobody
Right.
wants to talk about, what's going on with me, what's going on with you. We talk about current events, what's going on in the
Mm-hmm.
news, what's going
Mm-hmm.
on with athletes, movie stars, politicians. We're talking about everything and anything other than us.
Correct.
And it seemed like the mental health services are now taking the lead from
Mm-hmm.
any other job, any other
Mm-hmm.
services
Mm-hmm.
around the world. Because now it's like, oh, I didn't realize the importance of mental health. I didn't even realize I had a
Mm-hmm.
mental health challenge. And
Mm-hmm.
so, how does it feel to go from the back of the room to the forefront, saying, like, hey, we leading this charge. We're here to make the difference that only we can make because this is our area of expertise. How was it to take on that new position of, oh, go to a therapist, oh, talk to somebody, let's deal
Mm-hmm.
with it, let's process. How did you make that transition of knowing that, it's trying hard to get people to go to therapy? Now everybody wants therapy. I need therapy. Therapy is
Right.
cool now.
So I think for me, I saw it before the pandemic, just because we live in Baltimore City. You see the need, right? Like you said, but just because you see the need as a professional in your community doesn't mean that your community values it, right? So I think COVID uncovered a lot of that and made it normal to seek therapy and okay. And so it made even attractive for some. I find that my only concern as a practitioner is that sometimes people are entering into therapy not really understanding what's expected and what's it about. So I think as professionals, we need to continue to educate, the masses about, what therapy is about. So the first step is the courage to come in, and I love that. And then, some of the things that social media do not discuss is how hard therapy can be. And so just preparing people for that part. But overall, I think it's great, especially in our community, because, you know, it was swept under the rug. There's abuse, generational abuse, neglect, dysfunction that we're all trying to change. And one of the best ways to change it clearly is being in therapy. We've seen our parents and grandparents sort of drink their troubles away, gamble their troubles away, all of these things to fulfill a void that was dysfunctional and maladaptive. So I'm really excited. And I always applaud the people who come into therapy and say, you are already halfway won your battle. The courage and the confidence to come in and say, you know what? I don't know what this is really about, but I think I need help.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned that. With that being said, please tell us what people can expect or when they do start therapy. What is therapy? How does it work? And what are some of the things that go into processing whatever you come to therapy for?
So despite what, it's difficult as a practitioner because insurance companies have their requirement. Of course, a lot of times they want you to have some brief interventions. However, I tell clients that therapy is a marathon, not a sprint. You will sometimes come in with one issue. It could be, I don't know, I just can't, get along with my family. We're arguing a lot. I don't know what it is. I have a nice car. I have a great job, but I'm still unhappy. I'm not feeling fulfilled. Sometimes people come in because their families have encouraged it just because of some of their behaviors, whether it's depression or irritability, because we have to remember as women of color, a lot of times our depression doesn't look like everyone else's. Our depression looks like irritability, annoyance. We will dress the part because we've learned growing up, we don't look like what we've been through. And so your hair looks nice, your nails are done, all of those things, but you're still dying inside. So I would tell people to just be prepared, to be open, to be challenged. The first part of the process is that we'll do an assessment. Our practice, we send out an intake questionnaire. We send out some screening tools just to figure out what you think you have going on. And then we go over that and we just go through an assessment of getting to know you, building a rapport, and then just determining, okay, what would you like to work on? And how about we work on this as well? Right. And we're going to take our time, build a rapport. And a lot of times, clients can be in therapy for months or even a year before they are comfortable enough sometimes to disclose some things they've really suppressed and repressed. And I was telling the group yesterday, a psychotherapy group we had yesterday, is that, as you heal, sometimes things will be, I guess, uncovered. For you, things that was repressed. It was subconscious or unconscious. You had no idea that these things went on. So, as a therapist, I always think it's great when that happens because that says to me, you're progressing, you're healing a lot of your trauma, where you're able to bring up new other things. They're not new, that we can process and address. So that's pretty much what to expect. Most people are in therapy for a few months to a couple of years, but it's okay if you're not comfortable yet and you need maybe longer than a year or 2 years.
Well, you know what? I have been the beneficiary of just what you talked about. When this pandemic first happened, I had a dear girlfriend that suddenly died. I mean, we talked about the changes we want to make, the business we was going to start, the weight we was going to lose. We were just going to step into our purpose. And within 30 days, she was dead. And it did something for me like nothing else ever did. It made me say, not one more day do I want to live with the people I love and the people who love me. And we got this thing that's hindering the flow of love. What is it? I know you love me. I love you. You there for me. I'm there for you. But what is it that's hindering that love from flowing naturally and from the heart? And so I said, you know what? There's some stuff going on with me, and there's some stuff going on with the people I love. So I said, you know what? Let's deal with our individual stuff first. Because until we deal with us, we don't, it's nothing we can do with somebody else and nothing else that anybody
Mm-mm,
can do with us. So I
mm-mm,
got a therapist. I was in
mm-hmm.
therapy from like March all the way until like beginning of 2000, and I want to say 2000, 2000, yeah, 2000. And you know what
Mm-hmm.
happened? I was able to finish writing the book while I was going to therapy. I was writing this book entitled "Please Forgive Me Before It's Too Late. I Love You and I
Mm-hmm.
Need You in My Life." That book was the kind of book that we all need, whether we in a
Mm-hmm.
relationship with somebody or we just have family issues or stuff going on with ourselves. It's so many things that's going on that we don't understand what it
Correct.
is, why it is, or what the root cause for it. And so I just said, you know what? And I mean, that book came out of me so fast. I mean, I would wake up at like 2 in the morning. I would write some on my computer
Mm-hmm.
about an hour or
Mm-hmm.
two. Then I go back to sleep, and then I'm like in my Google Docs typing some more, and then I'm transferring it to my email, to my Word document. And that book was written so fast. And I said I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
finish writing it by the 14th of July. And I was happened to be working on the last chapter of the book, and it was the 14th of July. I said, "Oh, today is the 14th. Let's end it right here."
Mm.
And that book, I'm telling you, that's the kind of book we all need because it helps us to take a look at ourselves first. We can say all day somebody else is the reason why my life
Mm-hmm.
is what it is or why it's not what I want it to be. But the bottom line is we all are making the decision and choices ourselves. Nobody's telling us to choose this. Nobody tells us not to choose that. Nobody tells us to do this, not to do that. We are choosing these things ourselves. And just like I heard someone say years ago, it said we're all self-made, but only the
Mm-hmm.
successful people admit it. I
Right.
say we have all created the life we have, and only
Yeah.
we can recreate into the life we want. But all
Mm-hmm.
day, every day, for year after year, people can tell you what I don't like, what I don't want, what I don't like, what I don't want. But nobody ever flips and say, well, this is what I do want, this is what I do like. And until we flip it and start having a conversation about the good things that we like to see in our life, the way that we can move from where we are to where we want to be, things will always remain the same. So
Mm-hmm.
I just thank you for what you do. I thank you for the heart in which you do it. And it makes a great difference everywhere you go. And like I said, it's not just when you opening your doors to do therapy, but wherever you
Mm-hmm.
show up, when whoever's in your space, they're going to get some of that Darby love, support, encouragement, and hope. And it's like when we understand that, we all need other people, just like
Mm-hmm.
other people need us.
Mm-hmm.
And don't be afraid to take your turn. We let people come to us
Mm.
day after day, year after year. I need you for this. I need you for that. Can you help me with this?
Yes.
Can you do this? Can you go here? Can you do that? And we need those same things we give to other people, but we never ask. We never
Mm-hmm.
say, you know what?
Correct.
I could use some help in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we meet somebody like you, whether it's in your practice or just traveling through your life, it's like, hey, now that you mention it, I think I like to check out your services.
Mm-hmm.
And there's
Mm-hmm.
some things come for just being friends with you. Like now that
Uh,
you and I are not therapists and
mm-hmm.
client, we friends. So we have all kinds of conversations,
Mm-hmm.
and it's amazing how just being who we are, doing what God has created us to do makes the difference. So some of the gift talents and abilities you use, I know you went to school to get some type of training, but what
Mm-hmm.
are those other natural gift talents and abilities that you added to your practice and what you do to impact the community?
We will be right back after this message. welcome back to our podcast.
As you stated, I guess it's just personality and charisma, and as you stated before, a good heart. I just truly believe that we all have a purpose in life. As a Christian, I just believe that we need to be accountable for the abilities that God gave us and whatever that looks like in your life. I'm just excited to just sort of validate people and encourage people. That is second nature for me. It's been like that from the very beginning, just to really make people feel like they're heard, they're seen, and encouraged.
And though, it's funny that you said make people feel heard and seen and encouraged. There's a lot of people that come to and fro our lives all the time. And people look at them like they're invisible, like they don't even exist. But for some reason, because of who God made us, we're like, hey, you okay?
Right. We notice it.
And it's amazing. I think, like you were saying earlier, we can get distracted. We can get distracted by what's going on in our life or whatever challenge we face or whatever thing is going awry. But it's like everyone needed to be noticed and acknowledged. And
Absolutely.
like you said, we all need it. We all necessary. So how can we, just being people in the community with other people, how can we be better at, stopping and seeing the people in our path and saying, how are you? Are you okay? You need anything? How can we do more of that?
Exactly what you just said. Practicing mindfulness. A lot of times when we think of people practicing mindfulness about being mindful of yourself, but when you're mindful of yourself, you're aware of others as well and just how you connect with them. So I think it's important that we are taking that time to be present, right? So when you are with your family, put your phone down, right? We've become like multitasking kings and queens. And it's important that when you're talking about connecting with someone, you're doing exactly that, right? You are in the moment. You're listening to them. You're paying attention to what's going on around you all. You're paying attention to expressions. So really just being in the moment, being present is the first start. And then talking to people and remembering how you want someone to treat you. How would you want someone to respond to you? So many times we hear about the strong friend and strong family member feeling neglected. And I hold all parties accountable because no one, if you fell into this role in your family, people don't know any other way to engage you but to be their enabler. But when you start setting the boundaries and communicating your needs, like you said, then people have two choices. They're either going to change and adapt to your boundaries and who you are, or they're going to fall back. Either way, you're choosing what's best for you. So a lot of times, as you stated earlier, you need to get to know yourself and be aware of what you like, what you don't like, what's comfortable. I always tell people when you get upset and negative emotions are evoked from someone, guess what? That means a boundary was crossed. That means something is uncomfortable and you need to look into it further.
Now, none of us get through life alone. We need a good village. I mean, I don't mean just people.
Yes.
I mean people with a good village where people are helping one another. How can we start that conversation with somebody that we know is really overwhelmed or they have really, going too far to the left with, some type of hurtful situation or they're, right there at the depression door. How can we engage them, whether we are a professional or just a neighbor or family member, how can we engage them to, talk about it or get help?
So, we do a strategy in DBT sometimes. I call it the come to Jesus conversation, where you're having this complicated, courageous conversation with someone. And it's just sticking with the facts and then the emotion as well. And letting them know how you're concerned. So it's like, hi, Cheryl, I noticed that whatever is going on with you, you're not coming out as much as you used to. I'm not hearing from you. I just want to let you know that I'm concerned that you can reach out to me. Hey, can we go out? And everything in our community, especially as young women, is not about going out to happy hour and having a drink. Sometimes you can just go out, have a tea, or can you come do yoga with me, do an activity? Can you come do, like yesterday, we had a sound healing event. So it's other things that we can do to connect. Sometimes it's just starting with spending time and allowing the conversation to be organic. It's like, hey, I noticed that some things are different about you. Start asking the questions. How are things with your mom? How are things with your husband? How are things with your wife? Do you need anything? So kind of starting there without, pinpointing every single thing, but just meeting them where they are.
That's awesome. Now, I know you've been trained to do what you do, but what made you become a therapist? Who was that Aisha that said, you know what, I'm going to pursue becoming a therapist?
Interesting story, because I always tell people it was nothing but the Lord. I was not interested in therapy at all. I was in leadership, healthcare administration. And so a part of a loan repayment program, I had to do psychotherapy. So I remember early on in my, schooling, I had a mentor and I did an internship in an outpatient mental health clinic. And, she came to me and said, I think you need to do therapy. And I just laughed. I said, okay, great. And I went on, I graduated and just was in leadership for a long time. And with the loan repayment program, I had to have individual sessions. I had to provide psychotherapy. And just to see the responsiveness of our brothers, I saw more Black males. And I realized, who is out here to provide this service? Who is here to validate and support our brothers' experience? And so I started working with another outpatient mental health clinic part-time. And I said, you know what, I can do this myself, do it on my own terms. And so that's how I started. And then eventually nothing was fulfilling. So we can't counsel people about authentic living and being courageous with their boundaries and choosing what they want out of life if we're not doing it. You have to practice what you preach. And so finally, with some uncomfortable situations in the workforce, God sort of snatched me out of it and put me into the practice full time. And I can tell you, there has never been a day where I was not okay with getting up to service my clients.
Wow, that is so awesome. It's a funny thing how God shows us our gift, talents, and abilities.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they lay dormant and then something happens to wake them up.
Mm-hmm.
So for you, it was that experience. For someone else, it would be something else. For me, it was working on a job that just became not fun anymore.
Yeah.
Me and Jesus did my job for a lot of years. But the moment that stress came over me one night, turning over in my sleep, I said, oh, it's time to leave this to move on. And by then, I had already written my first book, which is Sister Circle, The Power of Sisterhood. And I said, you know what? I'm finished with this. I don't want to do paralegal anymore. I want to do what God got next for me. And it's been a 10-year journey. So you never know what's going to bring out those gift, talents, and abilities you have.
Yeah.
But answer the call, because that's where the fulfillment is. That's where life becomes really enjoyable, where it becomes enriching, where it becomes so fulfilling that you'll do it for 20 years,
Oh, yeah.
And so for somebody who might be interested in becoming a professional therapist, what would you say to them? The reasons for doing it, or the reasons, the things that you have to be mindful of if you choose that way?
I think you need to do some soul searching and figure out why you want to do it. Unfortunately, sometimes in this profession, people are trying to heal themselves through others. And so they're servicing people while they're still struggling with some things themselves. So really figure out your why you want to do it. Clearly, there are some regulations and standards as far as licensure requirements and things like that. So you need to be either, a licensed professional, either independently or not, depends on what type of organization you work for. But I think when we're talking about the matters of the heart, just being really mindful of your why. Maybe even figure out your clientele in your area that you want to specialize in, and go from there. I would always tell people to kind of crawl and walk before you run. So work for another organization so you can see how to operate, a clinic or a practice, and get some experience, and then sort of step out with your own private practice or clinic.
I'm glad you mentioned that there's a lot of therapists and people that are trying to heal other people without going through their own healing process. Just like I heard somebody say, an attorney that represents himself as a fool for a client. A doctor still needs a doctor. We all need what we give others. So
yes,
how do you, so as true. A professional, how do you get what you need to keep you, healed and whole? And what do you recommend other therapists do that's, haven't complete their healing journey, or they drop what they need for them to start servicing their clients?
Set boundaries, be very clear with your boundaries. Even if I prefer and recommend a therapist have their own therapist or support circle or colleagues as well that you can converse with and network as well. But most importantly is be clear on your boundaries. When you're in a helping profession and you want to help all the time. So, you could get a call, late at night or after your business hours. You could, add more clients to your schedule than you can really handle, because you just don't want anyone to feel like you've ignored them or neglected them in any kind of way. So it's important that you're clear for yourself. What are your boundaries? What are your office hours? Making sure you take time out for yourself. For me, I take time out for myself. I spend time with family. I do the things that I enjoy. So self-care for me could be anything that I want to do in that moment. Self-care could be sitting and watching television and just doing mindless behavior. It's what I want to do, is what makes me feel comfortable and distressed. So, I just encourage anyone in a helping profession to make sure that they are tending to their own needs. Because you can't, clearly take care of your clientele, family, and friends when you're not healthy. And definitely, identify and reinforce your boundaries. That's really important when you are in this profession, because it's so easy to blur lines. This is why, we are required to do a lot of courses on ethics. It's so important to just make sure that you are taking care of you. I can't emphasize that, because, people can pull at you because a lot of the folks in our community do not have a good social support. And so one of the first things I do as a part of their treatment planning is identify your circle. Who is your social support system? Because if your client doesn't have a social support system, they will constantly pull at you, want to have more sessions than is necessarily required for their diagnosis. So just be really mindful of your boundaries.
And just thinking about diagnosis, I believe that there are a lot of people in the world that have a mental health condition. They just haven't been diagnosed with it yet. And I also believe that just because you get a mental health diagnosis doesn't mean that your life is over. Let's face it. We got people that have diabetes, high blood pressure, whatever kind of issue, and they're not wearing that like a badge on their head. Oh, I have diabetes, So just because, how do you deal with the stigma of mental health? If I go see a therapist, well, they think that I'm crazy,
Right.
We change those those misconceptions about what mental health is or what it's not.
Well, the first part of treating anyone is education, the psychoeducation. So, whether it's assigning readings, or you informing, educating a client on various diagnoses or their particular diagnosis, of course, normalizing it in the sense of, these are expected, I guess, behaviors and things are going on. I don't want to say like normalize it like it isn't a diagnosis, an issue, but so they understand that they're not alone. And sometimes it means pulling up data. to inform them like this is what a lot of others are experiencing as well. And this is the outcome, when you go through your treatment process. So I think in that sense, it's also important that they understand that the focus is on the symptoms and the behaviors, not necessarily the diagnosis per se. And we've heard terms over the years, family and friends that people are crazy, different things like that. Only crazy people go to a shrink, go to a therapist, and just sort of dispelling a lot of those myths and belief systems that we come from. That's a large part of it.
Yeah. Well, I'm telling you, it had just really been amazing to have this time with you. And I hope we can have more time together. You're so busy. Have some more boundaries.
Right.
So I can get in your life. Call me when you're right across town. But anyway, it has truly been a joy and a blessing to spend this time with you. So tell us tell people where they can meet you, where they can, connect with you, your website, your phone number, whatever it is that you want to share, that people can come and enjoy some of your wonderful services.
Sure. So I'm at www.darbyassociatesllc.com. That's our website. On IG at Darby Associates. And, you can look us up on Psychology Today, or basically all the platforms that will find a therapist for you. We're on there.
Well, I really appreciate you, and keep doing what you're doing, because God is well pleased with you. It is when we use our gift, talents, and ability to make a difference in the lives of others that we truly are fulfilled and we really start enjoying life. So thank you for coming out, and just know that your gift will make room for you. So when you discover them and you nurture them and you develop them, God will show you how to use them. So until next time, y'all be blessed.